Hi, and welcome to my job search part 2. I have been ghosted again by a few different entities. They seem to post and never get back to applicants. There is something wrong with the recruiting engine as a whole these days. Something that I think needs some light shed on it. I am an IT professional with over 30 years of experience, working in almost every facet of the IT industry. This is the account of my search for a new position after having ended a 4-year engagement. The walls of my office have seemed to shrink, and I am slowly running out of tea for the self-reflection I sometimes do on a daily basis. Keeping occupied has been a kind of struggle as of late. Unadmittedly, I have taken on traits that suggest that I may be depressed. This is what a typical job seeker experiences. However, when I look at the posts from LinkedIn recruiters, I am seeing a trend that suggests they are having a hard time picking through candidates. When the vast majority of candidates never get their applications or resumes past the computer. An algorithm weeds them out, and they are never considered. The only proof that the application was placed or a resume was filed is the occasional form letter to the applicant telling them they were not chosen to move on to the next phase. Now, I'm not oblivious to the insurmountable task that is recruiting and the effect of a vast amount of resumes that some recruiters get in the course of a hiring campaign. What I'm saying is that the approach to picking candidates has been damaged by the algorithm, the machine that picks the finalists. Imagine picking a life partner solely based on the car they drive or the shoes they wear. Additionally, there is something that I'm sure would be of interest to other applicants who do not read the agreements they sign by applying to jobs. One such case is with OpenAI. A recent posting from them yields an arbitration agreement that does a few things that applicants, if they knew, they would not click past this and apply for the job. The agreement states, all covered claims will be decided by a single arbitrator and not by court or jury trial. Uncovered claims includes nearly every employment-related dispute, including discrimination, retaliation, harassment, wrongful termination, wage issues, privacy violations, negligence, fraud, breach of contract, whistleblowing, background check disputes, hiring process disputes, termination disputes. This is extremely broad. This is one of the biggest gotchas. The arbitrator shall have exclusive authority to resolve any dispute relating to the validity, scope, applicability, enforceability, or waiver of this agreement. Meaning, if you argue the agreement is unfair, the arbitrator decides. If you argue it shouldn't apply, the arbitrator decides. If you argue it's invalid, the arbitrator decides. Courts normally decide these issues. Here, you lose that protection. You waive class actions completely. The agreement states, OpenAI and I waive any right for any dispute to be brought as a class and / or collective action. This means, you cannot join a class action. You cannot start one. You cannot opt in. You cannot even be notified one exists. This is a major limitation on employee leverage. The agreement forces PAGA claims into individual arbitration only. The arbitrator is without authority to preside over any POGA claim on behalf of any other person. This removes one of the strongest employee tools in California. This is unusual and important. Arising out of or related to your application and selection for employment. Meaning, if something shady happens during hiring, you still cannot sue. Even if you're never hired, you're banned. You must follow strict procedural hoops before arbitration. The agreement requires written demand, sent to 2 addresses, a 30-day cooling-off period, mandatory informal settlement conference, personal participation. If you miss any step, a court may enjoin the filing or prosecution of an arbitration. This is a procedural trap. If you don't follow the steps perfectly, you lose access to arbitration entirely. Arbitration location defaults to San Francisco. Unless both parties agree otherwise, the arbitration will take place in San Francisco, California. This can be expensive and inconvenient for you, especially if you do not live near San Francisco. You give up your right to sue OpenAI in court. You give up your right to a jury. You give up your right to join or benefit from class actions. You give up your right to bring representative claims. You agree to private, individual arbitration only. You agree to procedural steps that can block your claim if missed. You agree the arbitrator decide whether the agreement is valid. You agree to limited discovery. You agree to arbitration even if never hired. You agree to arbitration in San Francisco. The agreement states, "My name, signature, and date will not appear, but this arbitration agreement is still valid and effective." This means you don't sign anything. Checking a box binds you legally. There is never a good reason to give up your rights just to apply for a job. Employers that arrange these practices are not worth applying to and should be avoided. If you encounter a line in a contract or job description that states duties as assigned, that is a blanket statement that means everything they decide at any time is your job, regardless of what it is. This is how you lose in the job hunting market. This week I have applied to 27 businesses and have heard back from one, however that does not count because I called them. One of the only contacts where I actually have their information. I will be going more in depth in part 3. Join me for that part of my journey.